This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paperboys podcast, JJ and I talked to release captain Rom Whitaker. Hear what it was like for the 38-year Big Rock captain to finally bring in a fish and what winning $2.2 million from this year's tournament means to him and his family. It all starts right now on the Paperboys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paperboys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. We're joined today in studio by Captain Rom Whitaker and his wife Elaine, better known as Shug. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Our Father's Day can't get much better than this.
So it's been about like 14 hours since you knew you were going to be second place in the tournament and the big money winner in the tournament. What's these past 14 hours been like?
It's just been a dream. I mean, it's like walking around on clouds, seeing so many of my good friends and everybody hollering and thanking me and congratulating us. So it's been wow.
Shug, yesterday, 4 boats come in. You're number 2 on the leaderboard. What was that? What was your Saturday like?
You know, I have to tell you, at the beginning of the week, I was just so excited about the Fabulous Fisherman Award. I didn't give much thought about where we were otherwise.
Sure.
And kind of just really put it on the back of my mind. But then Saturday morning, I wake up and I go, oh,
it's the real deal.
Gosh, this is the real deal. We are still in second place. We just might make it. So yesterday was really kind of a pins and needle day.
Yeah. Where were y'all at? How were you keeping up with everything?
Well, we were driving from Hatteras to Morehead City, which is about a 4.5 hour drive, and I listened to the live radio before I left Hatteras for about 30 minutes, and fishing was really good yesterday. So I said, I can't listen to this. I just got to cut this off. I'll be a nervous wreck.
People were catching too many fish.
It was left and right.
They were hooking up right and left, and I was like, man, I just, the odds are that somebody's going to get a big one, and so my son who did listen to it, I guess, he'd call me like whenever a fish was boated. Well, the assault weapon's bringing one in, and the wasabi's bringing one in, and of course, every time he'd tell me, I said, I don't know if I want you to call me anymore.
Stop calling me.
So by the time we got to Morehead, it was 4:30, I think, when we stayed at the Basque. And so we checked in, and I'd already heard by that time, by about 5 time we got settled in and everything, that 3 fish had brought in, and none of them had even made the minimum size. So I was like, heck yeah. And one fish left to come in. I said, the good Lord's looking after it. The worst we can do is 3rd place. So we went down. By that time, I was like pretty jacked up because I knew that I knew we had won the 1.7 for the Fabulous Fisherman, but I was hoping that we would stay in the top 3, and I knew then we were at least 3rd. So I said, well, honey, we're going to go down there and talk to some people, and that last hour or 2. My brother flew all the way in from Atlanta and my niece from Texas, and they were going to dinner at 6, and I told Lane, there's no way that I'm not even hungry right now. I'm not going to dinner at 6 o'clock. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I'm going to take in every single minute of it. So we went down there, and of course they let us in up by the scale, and Randy and George. I go back 40 years with those guys. They hugged me so hard. When Randy read out 504, I didn't even hear the 04. All I heard was 5, and I knew when I heard 5 that I was having a great day. So I was jumping up and down, and George came over, and somebody said he jumped so high. He jumped about 4 feet high. How the heck did George jump so high?
The kid came out in George real quick.
Oh, my gosh, because I go back with George, and I know y'all remember Dale Ward, and then Dale's brother Eddie used to fish with us on the Evan. So,
and then Howard Bass might give you a big hug.
Oh, yeah, Howard. Randy, they were all hugging on me. In fact, my chest is still hurting. They were squeezing me so hard. But, I know Everett, the guy we used to fish with, and from Apex, had the boat, the Evan, and I told you all that story about his first, Marlin tournament. And they were out there, 28 Bertram, hooked a big old fish, and they were green. They were all green. They had a really good mate on there that knew kind of what was going on, but somehow fish got up under the boat and they hit it with the propeller. So what would have been a great celebration, kind of ended up, he got the Broken Mirror Award. But anyway, that's how long, that was back in, that had to be back in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's how long I've been with Everett Fish, and then I got my own boat, moved to Hatteras, started charter fishing, and have been there for 38 years. So you guys, you just don't know how long I've been working at this. So to finally make it to almost the top and to win, $2 million, that's just probably won't ever happen to me again. So I'm taking it all in.
Hey, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal,
Oh,
right?
my gosh, I'm so thankful for all my friends, for the good Lord for putting me in the right spot at the right time, and my wife for letting me move to Hatteras, leave the corporate world, and move to Hatteras 38 years ago and do what I love to do. And it's just been most people might look back on their life and say, well, I should have done that, I should have done this, but I don't have any looking back. It couldn't be any better. So thank everybody.
Give us a breakdown, Zach, of how he's number 2, but the big money winner.
Yeah, so we came into this year with like expectations of you never know if there's going to be one big money boat or if it's going to be spread around. I mean, we only got our first $1 million winner in 2017. That's the first one ever. So this is all really new.
First was 7.
Yeah, this year's purse was 7. So Rom and Release come in. You're the first fish to come in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, first fish to come in, 504 pounds, instantly won $1.7 million for the Fabulous Fisherman Prize. Now, normally that's about half that amount, but there was no Fabulous Fisherman's winner last year, so it rolled over, which, believe you me, made for a really exciting first day, because you talked about being apprehensive on Saturday. I feel like out of the last 25 tournaments, probably 22, 21 have been won either on the first day or the last day.
Yeah.
So those two are the heavy hitter days, and right after Release comes in, Game Time comes in with a 516-pounder. So they technically finished first. Now, neither boat were in level 20, so that's also a third boat. So with the Fabulous Fisherman and the second place prize, Release ends up with the most money. I think it's 2.2 for y'all, and then 1.8 apiece for Builder's Choice and Game Time. I mean, to have 3 boats walk away with that,
It's crazy.
even
Over
Ava
$1
D
million.
walking home with $604,000.
I know.
It's for a dolphin. It's incredible. Yeah.
Almost 4 out of $1 million, almost.
Yeah.
I guess 6 is.
Well, I know. Yeah, pretty close, but yeah.
Oh, and I know Brent on the Builder's Choice pretty well. See him in Bermuda, known him from years past. So congratulations to those guys and to the Game Time. Good Lord, to be a winner of the Big Rock, that's something you can put on your mantle and
Absolutely.
say I beat the best of the best sometimes. Same thing when we happened to win the Triple Crown in Bermuda with the Sea Striker. I felt like you beat the best of the best over there, too.
I understand you and Adrian go back, too.
I
Oh,
was
yeah.
gonna say, I don't know about this. Tell me about this.
Oh, Adrian and I have been great friends for a long time. I knew him back when he commercial fished out the Anchorage Marina, and I was fishing with Everett on the Evan a lot then. And Adrian, I don't know, we just kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
Good, he's a great fisherman. He was bottom fishing then. I remember going and looking in his boxes where he'd been out commercial fishing, and he'd have that box full of 40 and 50-pound groupers. It was just unbelievable. I was like, man, I said, Everett, we need to find out where daggone Adrian's going. But we've just remained friends, and I go to Bermuda with him, have for the last 6 or 7 years fishing the Triple Crown, and yeah, we were lucky enough. I don't know if y'all see it, but to win that ring over there, that's like a Super Bowl ring.
That's a pretty big tournament over there, too.
Yeah. Well, you over there, we're in a 61-foot boat, and we would be small fry over there. I mean,
wow.
if you're not in a 70, 80-footer with an 80-foot tower on it, then you're in a big motor yacht over there to accommodate you. But I guess my point is, the best of the best are over there. But still, I love it. I mean, I grew up with my daddy and granddaddy fishing in Newbern on Broad Creek, catching little bitty speckled robins and largemouth bass. And it just, my grandmama would take me on the Sportsman's Pier 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I'd stay there with her all day, and I'll never forget, I told her, I said, Grandma, if I ever figure out how to get out there in that ocean, I'm going to catch me some big fish. So I hope she's looking down at me now, because I got me one big one anyway.
Well, now you grew up fishing, but you didn't go right into fishing when you got into adulthood.
No, I went to work with Coca-Cola. A good friend of mine, Tommy Seagrave, whose boys have run the airport over here for a while when they had Seagrave Aviation in Kinston. But worked with him with Coca-Cola, ran the Coke plant in Kinston for about 3 years. But all the weekends I bought me a Seacraft 23 when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And which is a big boat. And all the money I could spend, I think I paid $5,000 for it. But I took it to Hatteras. And every weekend I was going down there Friday night. And if the charter boats went, I was going. You know, I was hardcore, would fish Saturday and Sunday. And sometimes I'd get up at 3 o'clock on Monday morning to drive back to Greenville or Kinston so I could be at work for Monday morning. But finally my wife said, well, good gracious, all we do is drive back and forth to Hatteras. Why don't you just
Let's go live there.
Well, I bless her heart. I took her up on it. She probably regrets it. But anyway, that was 38 years ago. So I have no regrets. Hope she does.
Oh, sure, I don't have any regrets whatsoever.
Well, I was going to say, tell me about that. He's obviously got a steady job with Coca-Cola. He's doing well. And
Well, actually, there was life beyond that. I mean, after Coca-Cola, we were in the outdoor advertising business in Virginia for a couple of years. Then we're in the finishing business in Greenville for a couple of years, and he was part owner of those. And so we just walked away. He worked all the time. There was one stretch I'll never forget for 3 whole weeks, which doesn't seem like eternity, but for 21 days we didn't even get to Hatteras. He was just working 18 hours a day, and we'd be invited to the 4th of July barbecue in the neighborhood or whatever, and we never attended anything. We were always beating the path back and forth to Hatteras, and I said, my gosh, we're just back and forth constantly. I said, honey, why don't we just move there? And so we moved and didn't look back and packed up everything we owned in storage. We had a little fishing shack, and it was a hole in the wall. It was great for weekends, had a great storage room, but for everyday living, it was.
Suddenly you're there full time.
It was nothing fancy, and it didn't even have heat. And we got there, and we thought, okay, we'll buy something quickly, but we did not, and just couldn't quite find something that rang our bell. And lo and behold, we stayed in that trailer a year. I can't believe it. But you know what? I didn't complain. It was great. I luckily got a teaching job my first year there. So I was busy working. He was trying to build a business, and, we just made it work. We don't have any regrets. I'll tell you, it's a wonderful place. It's, the cool thing about it is you have friends, you have family come, and you step away and do special things, and all of a sudden you feel like you're on vacation too. And it's a real simple kind of quality of life. But you go to the post office and you see 10 people, and it's just really neat and special. And we've tried to be very community oriented, and it's just meant a lot to us to live there, and we love it there. We just do.
Where were y'all at before?
Well, we originally started out in Tidewater, Virginia when we were in the outdoor advertising business. He was in Greenville prior to that. Then we went back to Greenville.
Okay.
And were there for a couple of years before we moved to Hatteras.
You said it was a little bit chilly in that trailer.
It was. I have to tell you a funny story. This is true. My dear friend, I said, honey, I'm going to freeze. I want you to go to the store and buy me the most expensive electric blanket you can find. I've never even slept under an electric blanket, but I'd wake up in the morning, warm as could be under the electric blanket, but my face would be like ice. And, I just got up, hustled, went to work, there you go. But it's true. And I look back on it and I think, how the heck did I do it? Because we just rolled. Yeah. We just rolled with it. We didn't complain about it. We felt gifted. He wanted to be there. And, I'll just tell you, I could not hold back a person I love from him doing what he wanted to do. And, I know people like jobs, people love jobs. I've been in those same situations. Fortunately, I've liked and loved all mine. But I haven't ever been like that. At tournament time, he's so excited almost sometimes at night he can't even sleep. And I'm like, how miraculous that is to be able to love something you do that much. How could I ever deny him that? I could not. I couldn't. So I've tried to be a huge supporter and learn how to cook fish, and there you go. So, and I like to fish too. I love it too, and I love the outdoors. So we just made it work.
Did y'all meet at ECU?
No, we were
met
way
in-
beyond that.
yeah,
we
we
were
met
past college before we met.
in my hometown of Kinston, but or no, actually in Greenville. But Elaine lived in Kinston then, and I was back running the coke plant in Kinston at that time. But I knew she loved me. Me and my buddy rode by this trailer, and there was a hand painted sign out front. It said $2,500, and we said there was an old pickup truck right there, kind of behind the sign. So I said, man, we got to go back and see if that's for that trailer, because I had a nice workshop out beside it. And we went back, and he said, yeah. He said, but the trailer's been flooded by the hurricanes, and its floor's soft, no heat. But this guy still makes outdoor furniture at Hatters, so he had a beautiful shop built out back. And we're like, heck yeah, we can put all our fishing equipment in there, leave our boat in the driveway. So we bought it. We couldn't get the money out quick enough to give to the guy for that kind of money. So poor Lane had to live in that trailer for I said, honey, we'll just live there about a month.
How old were y'all at the time?
I think I was
34.
probably early 30s.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So
So that was an adjustment.
Yeah,
y'all weren't 22-year-olds trying to
No.
go
I
on
know.
an adventure.
I know.
and we had a beautiful home in Greenville when we left, so it was
Wow.
it was a big a big transition. But
You really said trust the process, honey, and it worked out.
well, it worked out.
What was
so.
it like growing a charter business from scratch?
Well, it was a little bit, traumatic. I was scared to death. Am I going to be able to make it in the charter business? And, of course, I guess I had learned to fish pretty well by the time. I certainly wasn't well known, but I worked at New Sports Shop in Kinston. I know y'all familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of friends, not only in the tackle business, but just in general that I had met through the New Sports Shop. And word got out really quick. The first year I ran charters, I think I ran 120 trips. Which
That first year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Some guys aren't doing that now. So, and from there it just went crazy. I had some really good tackle sponsors. Penn has stuck with me for 30 some years, and just have met some really great people. Adrian, in the tackle business, I got to know several of the tackle representatives, and they wanted me to use their tackle and wear their clothes and that kind of stuff. So it worked out great. It couldn't have been better.
Were y'all dingbatters over there at Hatters coming from Greenville? Were you from off?
We still are dingbatters. I just wonder if they're going to call my sons local, but I've been there 38 years and I'm still not local, but I'm trying to be.
We talked to we had Thomas Wood, a dancing outlaw, in here a couple days ago, and he's also from West Virginia. And I said, we said, is it hard to break into this community? He got real serious. He said, yeah, it's a little difficult at first, but once they accept you, then you're one of theirs.
Oh my gosh! Well, I
You
had
found a family out there.
2 or 3 guys that immediately, Spurgeon Stowe, Jeff Oden, Donnie Oden, Danny Oden, and it didn't take long with their, kind of friendship and, say, hey, you need to give this guy a shot. He's a good fisherman. He's an asset to the community. And so now, I wish y'all could see my phone. It's just blowing up still with emails and, texts just saying, congratulations. So
Why that Monday?
it's pretty humbling.
That Monday they were coming in.
Oh my gosh, my phone died 3 times that day.
Wow.
I was like, everybody was excited because we caught the fish about 10:30 and we were 80 miles away. So only 20-knot boat, 4 hours. It was going crazy. It died and I didn't have a charger on the boat. And so I said, how big is he? How big is he? I said, well, I don't know, but he's close.
Did you make any guesses on your way in?
Oh, absolutely. But, I like to keep it suspense. So
Sure.
I had some people ask me how big and wanted the measurements. About it, there's a length times girth squared divided by 800. And it came out like 499.6 or something. So I knew.
Did you let yourself hope? on the
Oh,
way in?
absolutely. Well, I've seen, right many blue marlins, but when we pulled that fish in the boat, it was really thick. It was a fat fish. In fact, I heard the guy that cleaned the fish say, Ron, that fish, his belly was slammed full of like sardine minnows or some kind of sardines or something out there. It had just eat breakfast, I guess.
Oh,
that big old
what
girl.
luck.
Yeah.
Look.
A big
And
breakfast
then
really pulled that in.
when we got the fish up, it was tail wrapped, so the fish was pretty much dead. So that meant we didn't have to stick that big gaff in it with that big old inch hole. And you can imagine, a gallon of water's 7 pounds.
What a good point.
If we would have gaffed that fish, it could have very easily been $4.99.
Oh, man.
So we didn't gaff it, just slid it in there, and I think that saved us. But Adrian called me on the way in. She's got that Starlink stuff, and said, "Well, what do you really think?" And I said, "Well, Adrian, the way my day's been going so far, and as fat as that fish is, I'm feeling really good about it."
Oh.
So when Randy said 5 something, I was like, my whole body just kind of went limp. I said, "Hell yes."
And the first 15 minutes on Monday, y'all hook up, right?
Oh, it wasn't even that long. 10 minutes after line's in. I always like to see the fish and make sure it's a blue marlin. And there have been some big old makos caught around Hatters here lately. And I just kind of a stickler for, I want to get it right when I call it in. But the fish never jump. So I asked my mate, and Cameron Morrow, and another boy that's been fishing with me for years, Chris West, who both got excellent eyes. And I saw the big old hole it left, but I didn't actually see the fish. I was late turning around. I said, "Did y'all see that bite?" And both of them said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Rom." I said, "Was it a blue marlin?" They said, "Absolutely. It was a big old blue marlin." So that's when I called it in, and the fish, shoot, had me down to the back, and by then,
Wow.
that's when I called it in. So I'm sure that was 5 or 6 minutes had transpired before I called it in. But I had a great angler, Kirk Pugh, and he did a great job. We had it on a big old reel, a bear dog, we call them, a 130, a Penn 130 International. And we had a lot of drag on it. The drag was up around 32, 33 pounds, and he kept the fish coming. And of course, when I got him up there and saw how he was hooked, I believe we could have up 50 pounds on him and got him. But we caught him pretty quick, 45 minutes. But we, for some reason, took a long time. I told him it was big enough to put in the boat. I said, we need to take it to Moorhead, but we've won the release division a couple times, so we are a little bit hesitant. Everybody wanted to make sure it's big enough, so we did a lot of measuring, but thank goodness we finally, when they started pulling him in the boat, 3 of them had a hold of him, and they couldn't quite break his head inside we got a big door we pull him through, and they were sitting there, and there were 2 other guys. I said, "What are y'all doing down there? Help him."
Right.
Get
We
back
got
there,
team
help
effort
him.
here.
Hell yeah. So we got him drug in there, and man, when I saw him come in the boat, I was like, this ain't a 400-pound. This is close to 5. And I jumped down there, and we did the measurements, and I said, cover him up, put some ice on her. We're going to Moorhead.
Now, you'd never brought one in before.
Not a long time ago, we brought in a couple
Okay.
that were like 4th and 5th place, but that was on Everett's boat, the Evan. No, I never brought one in on a release.
And Big Rock has grown quite a bit over the last
my
few years.
gosh.
What was that like, pulling into that kind of crowd and that kind of excitement?
I'm going to tell you something. I take pride in my boat handling ability. And I got in there. There were so many people screaming and hollering. In fact, my buddy from Kinston drove all the way down here. I said, "Graham, is there anybody?" He said, "I'm sitting there at the scales waiting for you." I said, "Was anybody there?" He said, "Well, 5 or 6. And I said, "Really? Is that all?" I was kind of hoping, I guess I'm getting in so early that there hadn't time for anybody to get here. And he kind of laughed. He said, 5 or 6,000. So I started backing in. And those people were screaming and hollering, and I was already nervous about the weight of the fish. With a single engine boat, your rudder, it depends on which way your boat's going to go. And I guess I got so daggone excited, my brain just quit working. I'm like, which way is this boat going? I was about to run into the pier, and I said, I better, if you pull forward, right quick, your boat will go one way or the other, and you can tell where your rudder is. I said, I better get my mess together here before I tear something up.
Well, it's hard in that moment, right? I mean,
Well, it just, I got everything turned right, backed it on in, but I never thought I'd be that overwhelmed, and it was just Hey, like I tell everybody, I was a rock star for about an hour.
It does feel. I mean, they have the drone up there, and you're watching you turn through the port, come up the channel. And there's boats everywhere. The huge screen with thousands of people watching all over the world. It's incredible.
I didn't even know all that, and my boys were telling me, "Say, yeah, Daddy, we just stopped and we were watching." Even the boy that fishes with me with Hendrick Motorsports up in Charlotte, he said, "Rom, when you came into the weigh station, there's 100 and some people just in the engine shop." He said every single one of them came over we had a big screen TV in the shop. They all quit what they were doing, came over there, and they were all screaming and hollering when I weighed that fish in. So
it's truly a rock star moment.
It really is overwhelming how, when you hear Randy talk about how many countries, how many people are listening to that live broadcast, it's kind of overwhelming. You say, wow, that's impressive.
Did you have any idea what the weight, what kind of fish you're going to be looking at? You're going to
None.
Well,
None
I called it.
Were you on the boat then?
No, I was driving from Hatteras.
So
I
did you
didn't
make it in time?
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
No, and I knew it wasn't, but that was okay.
Were you listening on the Big Rock Radio?
I called, I'm a retired teacher, but now I'm working with NC12 Realty in Buxton. And so I was talking with Carla on the phone because she had called me a few times, and I called. I said, Carla, put me on so I can hear, because I couldn't get anything to stream in my car. I said, at least put me on so I can hear what's going on. Of course, they were all screaming and hollering in the office, and I couldn't hear really well, but I could at least kind of got to live the moment like that, even though I was driving and I was going, Jesus, take the wheel, honey. I'm just trying to get to Moorhead.
I'm getting chill.
And
I mean, they told you over the phone 500.
I'm listening over the phone while they've got it in the office, and that's how I'm hearing. And look, it's giving me cold chills just thinking about it. I was between like Havelock and New Bern. I wasn't even close.
Did you stop me? Did you start crying?
No, I didn't. But when he called me that morning to tell me to pack my clothes, he's so excited talking that I couldn't understand him really, and there's a lot of noise in the background. But I kind of was getting the gist of it, and then I just started sobbing right on the phone. I'm like,
I said, honey,
we've been waiting for all these years.
You better get down here.
You better pack your bag.
I said, I'm not sure. It might,
it was crazy.
It might be 490 something, but
humming.
George told me, he said, Rom, you set the record for having a marlin hanging the longest at the Big Rock scales, because the next boat wasn't coming in till 4 or 5 o'clock.
That's
so
right.
He said that fish, I thought it was about 10 minutes. He said it hung up there for an hour and a half. We were waiting because I wanted to get pictures with my wife at that fish. So we were able to celebrate, leave the fish hanging, and then she finally got there, and she was trying to get through security, to get to the scale, and they were saying, well, you can't get through this gate right here. And all of a sudden, I think George ran over there, grabbed her hand, said she needs to go through. So, anyway, he brought her over, and
what a moment.
It was
got
exciting.
To celebrate.
My gosh.
And especially because you don't have to wait the whole week to know that you've won.
Oh, well,
it's done.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean?
That
and
was
he
beautiful.
said 5. Like I said, I didn't even hear the rest of it. I just heard 5, and I knew right then. I said, man, I just can't believe it. I just can't believe it. I finally did it.
Well, speaking of the Fabulous Fisherman Division, Crystal Hesmer and Madison Stroke told me you've got quite the tradition when it comes to joining that division.
Not an early entrant.
Yeah, you don't get in early there, do you?
Poor Crystal. I've kept her up many a nights, Saturday nights. I might even been some Sunday nights, but fortunately, my Pete and them guys, and they've been fishing with me a long time, and they don't usually participate in that category, the Fabulous Fishermen. So me and my son Cameron and Adrian kind of, I can't do it by myself, so I have to have some help. So they participated. We've been doing it probably 10 years that way. So I was excited for Adrian, but I'm so excited for my son, and he was kind enough to split some of his with my new mate, Cameron Morrow, who I know y'all know, Atlantic Beach Surf Shop. Tommy, who I used to know really well, he had a Seacraft like mine, but and his dad and Mom, Chuck and Amanda, and they are just, the whole family's great people. And Cameron's, he's only 19. Can you imagine backing into the back Big Rock when you're 19 years old?
Was this his first year with you?
Yeah. He's been with me about 6 months. Can you imagine? They got him over there. Tommy got him over there to do an interview. And I think he was so nervous and so starstruck, he kind of just stared out there.
What do I do here?
Yeah, he didn't know what to do.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Guthrie.
Yeah.
Tell that real quick.
I don't, you tell him.
Well, there's a legacy there with the Morrow family, and
that's right.
Cameron's great-great-grandfather
That's right.
won that Fabulous Fisherman Award.
He started the whole.
Yeah.
Oh, was he part of the original club?
Yeah,
Yes.
Fabulous Fisherman.
So I've been doing a lot of research for the paper for that, and this group of gentlemen were not catching blue marlin yet out here, and
nobody knew.
they
right?
really put some faith that this was out there.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
So 7 years later, his great grandson.
That's
it might
incredible.
be great-great-grandson.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's great.
Oh, yeah.
So y'all knew the grandfather?
No, we know the grandfather,
Granddaddy,
which is
Tommy. He
but
started
we're
this.
talking
Johnny Guthrie, I
beyond
think,
that.
has been going a long time.
Oh, I see. I see.
But I'm like you. I've kept up with the history of the daggone red wagon full of silver dollars. Y'all got to go out there and find one of these marlins. And like then, it was like, what are even out there?
So I just read that when the actual first blue marlin was caught off the coast of North Carolina, it was in Hatteras. It was by some group, I think, from Virginia, 1938.
Oh, yeah.
That was the very first one, and it was in the paper
Marlin.
of like, it's out there, it exists in our waters. And of course, Morehead City, we wouldn't get it for another almost 30 years. But we knew by that point that they were out there at least.
Wow. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. So.
Well, Crystal and Madison, tell me about how your tradition was signing up for the very last second of the Fabulous Fisherman.
8:58 a.m. on
Oh
Monday
my
morning.
Gosh, Ron.
Oh,
that's
gosh, I'm telling you.
But this year you weren't late. You were pretty early. This
Well, I tried to do. I said, well, I got to quit keeping those girls. I knew Madison had taken over, kind of executive director, and I said, well, I'm not going to treat her as bad as I did.
I'm going to start fresh here.
Start a new relationship with Madison.
So yeah, it's been Crystal. She's been so sweet over the years, and Madison, she couldn't be any more accommodating and professional. I mean, and I know Curtis very well. So in fact, he goes with us to Bermuda on Adrian's boat to Sea Striker. So I know the family.
And what was the message you had for Madison when you told her you were going to join that division?
Oh, well, I think Crystal had warned her. But I told her, what I wanted to do, and she took care of it very.
She said you told her something, that you were going to, you said, I'm going to see you Monday at the dock.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I did. And she said, well, I hope so.
Well,
You called your shot.
Hell, it worked out. Sometimes it works out.
you mentioned winning the Bermuda Triple Crown several years back, and I'm curious, what's the biggest fish you've ever brought into a tournament before?
Well, last year we were over there, called the biggest one I've ever caught. We was with Adrian on the Sea Striker, and we caught a 870. Wow. So yeah, that's you kind of, as a marlin fisherman, your lifetime bucket list is to catch a grander.
Sure.
And of course, we'd like to do it on July 4th because they have a World Cup tournament that day, and you'd win $2 or $3 million to go with a grander,
Sure,
So,
that's all.
so there's some big fish over there. There's big fish out here too. Don't think there aren't, because I've caught 2 or 3 500-pounders in the Hatters Village tournament. We won that tournament about 3 years ago. So, but it won't nothing like this.
Backing into there.
Oh man, that was I don't know if I'll ever get to do that again, but that was a lifetime bucket list for sure.
Well, and we see the reactions of the Big Rock staff and everybody there, and he did a story on it. You can tell that you winning that was special to them because they've known you for a long time, and you're local, and I'm curious too because you mentioned something earlier. You mentioned that Starlink, and I'm wondering, do you have omnidirectional sonar on release?
I do.
Okay, so
I do.
We've been talking a lot about technology and the way fishing has changed over the years, and the more global Big Rock becomes, the bigger boats are coming in, the boats from off. They got all the technology, every piece of equipment you could ask for. But I will say that, being local and knowing these waters still plays a role for this tournament. I think almost every boat, all but 1 or 2 of the boats that came with Marlin this year were from right around here.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that still plays a role?
Well, I love to catch blue marlins, and being a charter boat guy, that piece of equipment was $100,000, and that is a deal. That was installed, and Gabe, that runs Banks Boatyard down there, and the owner of it, Todd, were instrumental and said, well, Rom, we'll help you out the best we can. And I said, man, I'm just a charter boater, and people think I'm crazy for making this investment, but it's new technology, and I love to catch blue marlins, and if that'll help me, I said, I want it. So I've had it, this is my second year with it, and it is helpful, but I mean, it isn't like you put it on there and they jump in the boat. You still
got to do it.
You got to learn how to use it. And everybody's asked me, well, did you see that fish on your sonar? And to be perfectly honest with you, we had just set out, and I'm a stickler for getting all my lures right where I want them, pulling right. And it was a little bit rough on Monday, so I was trying to get the boat going the right direction, get my teasers out, get what we call a dredge out, which go underwater. Got those bars with the rubber fish or squids or whatever hanging on it. So I was really still trying to get everything just where I want it, drive the boat, get everything straight. And I had my sonar on, but if that fish was on it, I just didn't see it or didn't look at it. All of a sudden, I heard them holler, and I looked back, and I think I said it at the thing Monday, a big hole. Anyway, they told me it was a family channel. I said, I'll try to tone it down a little bit, but it was. And a big hole and a bent pole, and the fish just was hooked great, never jumped. But yes, I mean, if you'll see in the Big Rock, like the first year they had a sonar, non-sonar.
Right.
It was like 60% were non-sonar.
I think it's flipped.
Oh, absolutely. It flipped last year to 60-40 sonar, non-sonar, and I think this year was almost 70-30. So the technology's coming, and if you're going to compete in these tournaments, if you look at the boats that are the top, especially in the releases, just about every one of them are going to have a sonar.
We've had captains say it's the most groundbreaking piece of technology since they've been doing it for 40, 50 years.
Well, it's Chip Schaefer, who's a good friend of mine, and probably well known all over the world as one of the best fishermen there is. He said he and I both like to bird hunt, quail hunt, and he said, well, Rom, it's like quail hunting without dogs. You put that sonar on there. I said, well, I got to let my bird dogs out.
Here. That's right.
Well, you figure it covers a 2,000-foot swath of the ocean as your boat's going along. That's significant, coverage. And last couple of days, but don't get me wrong, you see a lot of targets on there that you'd say, oh, well, I'm going to go over here. But from the experience of using it now, I used to circle those targets 7 or 8 times. Say, well, what's wrong with it? Why won't it bite? Now I see one, I may give it 2 circles, and I figure either that's not a marlin, it's a sunfish or a whale or a shark or mola. It can be a lot of other things rather than a marlin. So, and then I figure, well, if I drove right over it and he don't like anything I've got out there, then
he ain't the one.
Why am I wasting my time on him? I will find one that's hungry. So it's a learning experience the whole time, but it is unbelievable technology, and I'm pretty amazed at how strong it is, and I'm still a novice. I feel like using it, so I'm gonna get the Furuno people down here one day. There's some people that rode with me that have really helped me.
Yeah, we've had some captains say they have one person who's just assigned to look at it, because you can't do both. You got so much going on.
Well, that's the Starlink now. Everybody's saying, well, you got to get that Starlink now. I said, well, man, that's doing all I can do to work the sonar, try to, watch the baits, talk to my mate, and I get Starlink, I'm going to be on the daggone phone all day. So I don't know. It's, I like the peace and quiet out there. So anyway.
Well, you've put 38 years into charter fishing, and you have the time commitment it requires is incredible. Balancing family, balancing all that kind of stuff. Being out there Monday and every other day you're out there, has it been worth it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's been worth every minute to me, and everybody teases me, well, you gonna retire now? I got to be back this afternoon, so I got a charter tomorrow. In fact, I gave my charter away today to a tuna duck, but I'll be right out there tomorrow, probably catching triggerfish again.
Wow.
That's called loving fishing.
Yeah, well, it is.
He does.
And
Genuinely.
You were telling me there were times 3 weeks at a clip you didn't see him. He was in Mexico.
Oh, he would go to Mexico for probably 4 to 6 weeks. He ran charters there for 15 years during the off season. So he's committed, and he wanted to go other places and learn what he could, and pick up from other captains what they're doing, have other experiences. He just continued to learn and to challenge himself about how to catch marlin. Oh, he did that for 15 years. He fished in Mexico.
I would run the qualifier, Finn Gaddy's boat. I'm sure y'all heard of him, but he's kind enough. He'd run charters for 3 weeks, and then I'd go down and take my charters. And so that was great. It's some of the best sail fishing in the world down there. But yeah, it's just been living the dream. That's all I can tell y'all.
Sounds like you're going to do it till you can't do it no more.
Well, pretty much. My son, I think, my oldest boy, Rom, the fourth, he runs inshore half day, or inshore trips, and does a wonderful job. But he loves to run my boat, and I'll be going to Bermuda probably 2 or 3 weeks in July, and he'll take over then. And I think eventually maybe. My mind's still at it, but my body's slowing down a little bit now.
No doubt.
So anyway.
So there's 4 Romulus. How does the family get that name?
Actually, my son is really the 7th, Romulus Alonzo Whitaker. My granddaddy, and my daddy was a junior, and I was the 3rd, and we call my son the 4th, but he's actually the 7th.
Oh, wow. There was a skip in the
name.
When you find a great name like Romulus, you just keep using it.
Well, it's pretty unique. It's, of course, people are not used to that name. So I think when we were on other morning on Fox and Friends, they were calling me Captain Ron. They had it right on the caption, but I guess people are so, say, well, somebody misspelled this, But that's no big deal. I get called that a lot. But no, it's a pretty unique name, and I'm proud of it. My daddy, my granddaddy, my great-granddaddy, and my great-great-granddaddy all passed it along. So
if I had a great name like Romulus, nobody would call me Rom. Everybody would call me Romulus.
Full name, right? Yeah.
We're just glad to be here.
Well, I'll ask you the question that everybody wants to know when y'all win a big tournament like that. Well, what are you going to do with that money?
I've never won it. I've never ever won even close to this amount of money. So probably the first thing I'm gonna do is call my accountant.
I got some good news.
Well, it's funny. We were walking down to the Big Rock store yesterday, and George said, "Well, Rob, I hate to tell you, but when the smoke clears, you probably only gonna get about $175." I said, well, George, I don't want to hear that right now. Yeah. So we don't know. I'm so grateful my son, he could pay off his house, but I think he borrowed the money at 2%. So I said, you might be better to invest that money.
Right.
So anyway, we'll figure it out.
Sugar, has your phone blown up all week like his has?
She wants a new bathroom, so I think
she put into work. She sat in that heatless trailer for a year.
I think we're going to fix up the bathroom ever how she wants it now. So anyway.
From the fish shack to $2.2 million.
It's a good headline right there.
Hey, I'm a pretty low maintenance kind of girl, so it's a blessing. We're very humbled by it, to be very honest.
I bet you also talk at Hatteras Island.
Oh yeah, it's really kind of humbling, the whole experience, just to see how many people that call you are so happy for you, the love and just the support, and I've had several people from Hatteras say, Rom, you don't know how much this is going to do for the village of Hatteras or the island to put us back on the map, because we've had a terrible inlet there for the last 10 or 12 years, and so boats, and I don't blame them, have kind of quit coming, but now we've got our inlet fixed a lot better, which I'm not scared to tell somebody to come. Where before I couldn't hardly tell them to come because I was scared they'd tear up their boat. But they said, Hatteras used to kind of be the place to come catch a blue marlin, and of course boats are bigger, faster, can go much further, but I'd put it up against anywhere in the world for the month of May and June as being one of the top places to come and catch nice blue marlins. And it's a short run, 20 miles. And it's but people said that fish is going to put Hatteras back on the map. It's going to do so much, not only for you, but the whole community. So that just kind of takes your breath away when you start hearing people talk like that.
Well, you should always ask the captain about his boat's name too. The Big Rock crowd was telling me about how conservation-minded you've always been.
Well, I have been. I've been involved in fishery management for almost my whole career because, unfortunately, you have some very smart people on these fishery commissions and boards, but they're not, I hate to say it, but they just don't have the days on the water that I have. And maybe I haven't got a whole lot of letters behind my name, but I know what's going on out there in that ocean, and I feel like my input has helped in a lot of ways. And sometimes the government gets too restrictive, and they need more help or than they're willing to listen to. But if you're not there to give them your mind, peace of mind, and what you think's right, then you can't complain about the laws. So I've tried to be very vocal and forward-thinking about conservation for, of course, the HMS species, highly migratory, which is tunas, all the tunas, swordfish, marlins, and sharks. And it's a big ocean, but there are a lot of boats out there now, so we have to start thinking about, I know some people are, upset about us killing a beautiful fish, and yes, that marlin was a beautiful fish. It's what I devoted my whole life to catching just about, but I understand the tournaments, and they do millions of dollars of goodwill for the people of not only Carteret County, but all over North Carolina and the East Coast. But I'm the first one to let them loose. If I go tomorrow and catch a 500-pounder, then I'm going to see. I hope I see him next year at the Big Rock.
That's a good way to look at it.
Anyway, but yeah, I certainly understand about conservation, and there is, it's not limitless to what we catch out there. So try to do what I can to help.
Well, Ron, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on a great week.
Thank you for having us. We are really excited, and thank you for hearing our story. We appreciate that.